LA. Had family in town this weekend and they just left, so the morning kind of got blown up a little bit. So didn't start at 10 like I normally do, but ready to go now. So what are we doing today? August devlog got done. I put that out on Friday. So that's good. Book tracking is done. I just merged that this morning. And that just is basically everything you see in that demo on YouTube. So yeah, basically I feel like the app is in kind of pre-alpha. It's a little odd because I am used to, in my day work, building and launching MVP products in less than a month. And this has obviously taken a lot longer. Obviously, a big part of that is just because I'm new to game development, new to OpenCV, new to the Passthrough camera API, new to, I don't know, there's 5 other issues I've run into that have all each cost many weeks worth of work. But now finally feeling like I'm getting close to something that may actually work as a alpha version of this product. So trying to get across the finish line there. And then we can just have something that functions and works and that maybe I could even release if I wanted to, if I'm ready for it. Or rather, when I'm ready for it. So that releasing it is a sort of a business decision and not an engineering one. So with that said, what's left for that to be true, for it to be sort of an alpha product? OCR works in my test scenarios pretty well in some of them. I've done a number of different improvements with it where I've seen it working, but in the VR app itself, it doesn't work. And I know one of the issues with that is dewarping. When I'd done my dewarping experiments before, the issue I had run into, so I'd found some existing solutions online, and then I basically built a highly customized version of my own that was also kind of optimized, converted it to C++, ripped out things that weren't needed, and I got it to a place where it worked. And let's see what my notes said here. This is why it's good to like keep notes, because this is like an old pull request from over a month ago. So I can't quite remember exactly what I did, but it works, but it doubles the processing time. Okay, so it was slow. I'm not going to worry about that for the moment. Right now we're at 8 seconds. Takes 8 seconds to OCR. I'll worry about that later. Let's first get the quality up. And I think there's a lot of inefficiency in this dewarping anyway, so I could probably rip out a few things. Also, I've got a better idea now of how to debug this kind of thing, so we'll worry about the time later. A lot of code that I need to dig through and understand. Yeah, because some of the code it's like code I prototyped in Python, made a bunch of changes in Python, got it working there pretty well, and then had it converted over to C++. But there's still, I used AI tools to convert a lot of those functions, and so a lot of those code functions I haven't spent any significant amount of time in. So I need to go troll through that and figure out what's going on there. I'm not going to do any of this today. All things I'm not doing today. And it doesn't seem to help very much. Few percentage points increase. Well, at this point I'll take it, right? If it improves quality a little bit, I'll take it. I think there were some tweaks I tried that made it better, but it wasn't earth-shattering, okay? So the other reason why I need dewarping is I want to be able to chunk the results. So 8 seconds is how long it takes to get the first text to show up in the experience. But the problem with that is, maybe I can illustrate this by bringing up test data. Well, I guess before we dive headfirst into that, I can just finish detailing out what we're going to work on today, and then we'll get into it. I got test results. I do. Here we go. All right. Let's just take a look at this one. So if we look at this, if I'm going to chunk and say, hey, let's take the top 10%, process that first in OpenCV, not OpenCV, in Tesseract, and then return the OCR results of the first 2 or 3 lines, and then while the user starts reading, process the next chunk, process the next chunk. If I'm going to do that, if we haven't dewarped, well, Here, let's drag this out and show this properly. Here, we'll do that. So you can see, let's say we were doing the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, or even 6 lines, right? If we OCR this, it'll actually pick up the word gain us here. It may OCR that, but then it'll tail off and garble this. This line above it, it'll actually lose the words over here, which means then at a minimum, I would need to have a lot of overlap. I wouldn't be able to do just the top 5 lines. I would need to do the top, I would have to do like the top 5 or 6 lines here. And then in the next chunk, I'd have to start on like line 3 or 4, right? Also, we lose quality down here. So during that doesn't OCR very well. Dewarping fixes that, and I think that's where we get the performance boost, the quality boost, where we get the score going up a bit. It's these words in the corner that get improved. They get lost if we try to OCR on this curved page without dewarping it. And then the other issue you can run into is the word "the" here. Well, actually, here we go. The word "turn" here. If we scroll down on that, the word "turn" there is actually lower than the word "gain." And so it can get confused and decide that, hey, the word "who can," it'll be gain us who can. Like it'll take "who can" and sometimes throw it down here and say it's part of that line. So dewarping is also kind of needed for that. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's an error that my current test suite might not score that properly, because my test suite scores on mathematical distance between the text that we're getting and the expected text. And I think in that scenario, it would still mathematically have some closeness. Hold on, give me a second. Yeah, so it would have some mathematical closeness, because these words would still kind of be there. They would just be on the wrong line, but they'd be close enough, maybe. So I don't think it would hurt the score that much, but obviously it's wrong, right? And so visually it would look bad. So for a whole host of reasons, I think I have no choice but to do dewarping, even though there's a performance cost to it. So I might as well go and implement it, even if it doesn't improve the scores that much, because I need it. Once it's there, then I can worry about the performance implications and improving it. And then and one of the ways I can solve for that, again, is proper chunking. So if I am able to grab just the first 3 lines, have those OCR'd, but if I can detect those cleanly, if I can put a mask, or if I can detect using MSER, like the actual characters, and do a pixel cutoff, and actually reliably grab the first 3 lines from the image and send them off, well, then I could stitch them back together, right? I could send those off, then I could send like the next 3, and I could OCR in chunks of 3, and then you'd get this nice little, like, the words appear, and then a few more lines appear, and a few more lines, and the text kind of flows in. And it doesn't matter then that it's taking 30 seconds or more. Well, I guess for both pages, both left and right pages, it would take a minute right now to OCR, which, I don't know. I'm still convinced that there is some sort of device setting that I can just tweak to fix that, because I was able to do that for OpenCV. OpenCV was super slow. I changed a couple of deployment settings, and all of a sudden it went from 2 minutes down to 45 seconds. Tesseract, for whatever reason, it takes like a second to do a whole page on local with a beefy GPU and everything. But on the VR headset, it's taking 30 seconds. So I have to believe that there's some sort of setting there to fix that. But anyway, assuming I can't, assuming that that is just the way Tesseract is, at least by chopping it up in this way, I can take something that might take a minute and bring it down to a few seconds. And pretty much just solve any and all concerns I have about performance that way. So that's the issue with dewarping, but we need it. So we're going to do dewarping. We're also going to do this. This is a quick thing. It's going to take 2 seconds. Tesseract can actually take mat files directly. Right now I'm doing a little bit of a conversion there. I think I'm going to change it to this. It'll make the code simpler, and it may actually, who knows what it'll do. It may improve performance slightly, make Tesseract go a little faster. Who knows? So I'll test that, and then the next thing would then be rendering words by bbox. So right now I'm just throwing the text on the page, and that is okay, but like what happens if you've got a page break? So I don't know. Do we see it in this image? Not really. This is kind of a block of text. But, I mean, I guess one example would be the word to here starts a little indented. Right now I don't do that. We're just throwing the word to down. And we just write the whole line, and we just write line after line. Let me see. Do I have another test result that maybe shows us better? Well, actually, no, I wouldn't, because it's all the same block of text. But you get the idea. If there is a paragraph break or any other break, right now I don't account for that, and it doesn't look good. So this would have the text look better, and it would also help us resolve a little bit of that dewarping as well, because even if my dewarping operation doesn't fully resolve it, we would at least, instead of rendering a word on the wrong line, we would render it in its correct spot, if that makes sense. So I think I need to do this as well. And, you know, so, and then we can get back to then book detection, which I think my MSCR operation is slow. And I have some new ideas on how I can detect the book in your hands. And if I can properly, accurately detect the book in the hand, then one, I can render text to the right spot in the real world, which will improve the user experience. I could probably get rid of MSER for text detection. And that step is performantly bad right now. And there, you know, there's a couple of other benefits to that. So I think hopefully between doing this and some of these other things that I want to do, maybe, I don't know, maybe that'll move the needle. I think my plan is I'm going to spend a week on this, a week on improving OCR, and then a week back in Godot doing VR experience stuff. And I think that's what I'm going to do going forward. So I'll spend a week in one, a week in the other. That way I don't get burned out, right? Because it's fun spending some time in Godot. But I also then have some fun in C++, but spending too much time in either can get boring. So I think I'm going to do a week of putting my head in that mode. I think part of this also will be, I think I will work on this OCR video for YouTube. I'll work, you know, at least get the bones of that together this week, and then that way I can put it out next week maybe. But by spending a good week on this, improving OCR, hopefully then I'll have, because right now I feel like I know OCR works, but if I were to put this video out right now, it wouldn't showcase properly what I'm capable of doing. It would still be kind of a promise of the future, like hand wavy, once I fix a few bugs, everything will work. I want to fix those bugs. So if I can fix those bugs this week, then when I put this video out, I feel like it'll be a little more authentic in terms of I've actually succeeded at doing the thing I said I was going to do. So I think this week will be an OCR week. Next week will be a Godot week. And then I'll go back and forth like that until, you know, hopefully I can stop caring about, you know, either one. Well, probably, hopefully OCR. Hopefully I'll get to a point where OCR is good enough I can stop worrying about that and spend all of my time in Godot. Anyway, so that's what we're doing today. Let's see. Let's go take a look at this, and we are going to do dewarping text in OpenCV. And that is our goal today. Let's see, hand tracking bugs, that got done. Palm tracking done. Disabled the HUD. Turn on OCR loop, that got done. Only OCR if book found. I actually have a version of that now. So because I'm kind of hackily doing it by detecting palms up and some other checks that I'm doing. But basically we don't waste our time OCRing if we don't have a confident image. So that's actually working. Anchor book to palms, also there. Cool. So we are going to do pass matte images to Tesseract. And then we're going to do retest old deep warp logic. And then yeah, I mean, I could break these out into subtasks, but I do have some things here like fresh look at text detection, OCR accuracy 95% or above. In here, I've got a whole list of ideas, of new ideas, of ways I can improve OCR. And, you know, this was actually good. By taking a step back from being heads down in OpenCV and in Tesseract, by taking my brain out of it, I was able to look at it with a fresh perspective and come up with a bunch of ideas. And I'm confident something's going to work, right? I'm just going to keep trying these ideas one by one, and sooner or later, I feel like the dam will burst, and I will crack the code on getting OCR on video working reliably. I am able to get it working under certain scenarios. As we know, one of the test cases I have is above 90%. I've even gotten it to like 94-ish%. So that's, you know, we're already getting close to like 95% anyway in controlled sort of situations. I want to be able to get there in uncontrolled. What gives me motivations? Hey, Scroll. What gives me motivation? That's interesting. How do I describe that? I mean, I guess I've always had a bit of stubborn grit to myself. Because I've learned over the years that anything worth doing is going to be hard, and get mentally ready for it taking 3 times as long as you think it's going to take. One thing I tell my clients, because I do a lot of work I've been doing software for a long time, and these days, the past few years, I've been helping non-technical startup founders build and launch their MVPs. And, you know, there's one you can say, like, look, it's always going to take longer than you think, which is not something anybody wants to hear. But there's also like the first 90%, second 90% joke, where you'll get something 90% done, and then it's like, great, let's work on the second 90%, because that last 10% is always hard. You know, speaking of like this OCR accuracy, it didn't take long to get to like 80% accurate for the text. But now it's like that deep slog of getting from like 80 and above. It's so much, like, there's so many little things you run into. And that's true of any product. Oftentimes with startups, though, like with my clients, it's a little bit easier because you can build and launch an MVP in less than a month. You can get something out the door. But then becomes that long tail of making it feel solid and reliable and living up to expectations. And that can take forever. For me, the motivation is, I don't know, I like building new things. I like feeling like I tried something hard. I want to feel like even if I fail, that I at least took my shot. So, you know, I guess I've slowly baked it into my brain. It's better to try something and fail than to not try at all. And to give it your all means actually like even going further than you think you could. And there is always that trade-off of like, hey, when do you know to call it quits? How do you know like when enough is enough and to throw in the towel? But I think that line is further than people think. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think you can, yeah, it's hard to know where that line is, I guess. Yeah, I mean, life's short. We're only on this planet for so long, so might as well do something interesting. Try to leave a dent in the universe. I guess that's my motivation. Hard question. Scroll, you're on both YouTube and Twitch. Interesting. Cool. Hello. All right, let's actually get into this. Okay, so retest the old dewarp logic, and then that's all I'm going to say for now. Lord knows that'll take up all my time. So let's run that, and that's annoying. Always wants to throw itself there on the page you have. I just went to YouTube because thought you don't read Twitch. I'll be here. I did try to read both. The problem is I don't have them up. And so if I'll switch screens, I'll start coding, and then I'll look back and someone will have asked me a question. And it'll be like an hour ago and they left. And I'll usually answer it anyway, but yeah, sometimes it's hard to pay attention. I think I need to find a more persistent setup because I do have a separate screen. I have a second screen over here where I keep, little stuff that I don't care about. I throw it off to the side. But I don't know a way to like keep either like YouTube chat or Twitch chat like persistent somewhere. Maybe I just need to throw that up on my laptop and just have the laptop always sitting here and open with chat. Yeah, my fault. I need to fix that. All right, so what we're digging into. Actually, let me pull this back and let's get that mat thing working. So, had an AI code going with the current version? Yep. The AS, blah, blah, blah. Tesseract says it only needs... Yeah, so Tesseract's docs say, what was it? The OpenCV example. Here we go. So here's the OpenCV example from Tesseract's docs that I stumbled across. It's always funny coding with AIs because they will give you super complicated solutions. And this was one of them. The first time I had AI coded up, it gave me a super complicated solution that I implemented. And then later I realized it was dumb and was able to refactor it. And now I'm realizing it might even be even simpler than that. So let's take a look here. What do we got? So this is extract text from buffer. I don't think I'm doing this anymore. What was it? Extract text. Huh? Oh, that's the .h. Right. Extract text grayscale. So this takes a Godot image. I don't use this right now, but it's useful for debugging maybe at some point. This is one of the old ones that also took like raw image data. And then this is the grayscale. Actually, no, I'm passing in a mat. So Tesseract says, let's see here. Oh, I'm copying it to a new mat. If mat is continuous, what does that even mean? Copies it to the new one, otherwise it just copies it. All right, that's fine. And then we do... Yeah, we create a pix from it. I don't think I need to do that. Right. Right. So I think this is actually not needed. All that is unnecessary, apparently. So we should be able to just do... yeah. They call it IM for some reason. I don't know why you need to conserve. Yeah, so IM, initialize Tesseract, set page mode, and then they just set the image. And that's it. And they call it. Cool. So in theory, what are the arguments here? The data, width, height, int for bytes per pixel. Interesting. That number, does that might assume color? 3 bytes per pixel. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, and then we destroy the pixel, the pix. What does Tesseract have us do? We do it, we get our result, we tell API to end, and we delete the API. But I probably am doing all that in the deconstructor, right? I should be already doing that. API end, and then delete API. And then we set it to a null pointer for reasons. Okay. So now let's run the test suite. So when I ran it the other day, well, I can't see it anymore. Well, let me do -s. I don't know when the last time I built was. Let me run it anyway. It should be accurate. And actually, I report on this every time I create a new pull request. So if I go here and I go to my commits, did I report it here or there? I did not report it on this PR, nor this one, because none of those had anything to do with performance and nothing should have changed. This one. Yeah, so this is the test report. 78 2.5. 78 3.3, which, you know, could happen for a number of reasons. Where is our test results? Expected test result. I also do have Home Assistant stuff and try to get into ESP32 stuff. Cool, man. Yeah, I have a Home Assistant turned off in my house. I finally got settled into a place. I did Home Assistant stuff years ago. I actually hung out with some of the core devs a long time ago at PyCon. I went to PyCon 2016, I think it was, and I did some of the dev sprints and fixed something with, I fixed a bug with too many API calls happening to the one weather API for Home Assistant. So that was fun to like hang out with them and contribute to the core project. And then over the years, I've done some Home Assistant, but never was in a settled house situation. So I kept holding off on doing the whole IoT thing. But now that I'm settled into a house, I tried doing that and I just got busy. So, but yeah, I have a whole Home Assistant setup. I've built a couple of IoT devices actually. So that's cool. Curious what you've done with it. Where are... No, test cases, right? I should just keep this up because I end up using this all the time. I don't know why I closed it. So what did it say? Yeah, this test should have scored a 50. Okay, so it took more than 4 seconds. So it passed. It's just a little bit slow right now. In fact, if I run it again, now that it's warmed up or something, it may run faster. Yeah, it ran faster and it scored slightly slower for whatever reason. All right, that's fine. Let's build it and run and see if we get similar scores. but we were averaging 78. If I added a couple more test cases, that might help a little bit, because then I would have more scenarios that the average score wouldn't swing much unless I actually broke something that affected every test negatively. Whereas if I implement something that only hurts one or two tests, you know, the score would stay roughly the same. Here we go. Wow, okay, it's getting crushed. The scores got demolished. I wonder why that is. Here, I'll put that there, put that there. What's going on? Didn't you say we could just set image to our matte data? So that's a color image, but I'm doing grayscale. So Tesseract set image. Oh, huh, look at that. Different Tesseract result for matte and pix. Getting the same quality result when using, working with this. There's my code. Quite different. Leptonica variant. Why does pix give better result than matte and vice versa? OpenCV's image read function by default reads images as colored, which means you get pixels as BGR. In your example, you're assuming OpenCV image is grayscale. This is exactly what I thought my problem was going to be. Because that's where, when I looked at this and I saw the number 3 here, and if we look at the docs, it said bytes per pixel. And that's where I wondered, because I'm grayscale, is that going to be wrong? So there are 2 ways of fixing that. Change your set image line according to the number of channels in OpenCV image. Image size, height, image.channels. Cool. Which I wonder what that is. Which for grayscale is just going to be different, whatever it is. So let's run that while I keep reading. One channel. So grayscale would be one channel. That makes sense. If I was going to blindly guess, that's what I was going to do. Either way, the question is, will pix be as performant? Okay, we're back to decent scores. I want to make an app to open door with intercom, although I'm not really good at programming, so don't expect me to tell you something cool. All I did now is get servo to work. Yeah, I mean, you know, nobody's good at programming. Even people who've been doing programming forever, a lot of them lie and say that they're good at it when they're really not. Opening door with intercom. I feel like that's one of the classic Home Assistant projects I've seen quite a bit of. Using an intercom, especially like people who, if you're in like an old apartment building that has like an intercom near the door where you can buzz somebody in, the people have done like hacks on that where you don't want to destroy anything because you're not going to live there forever and you don't want the landlord to take your security deposit. But being able to like hack into the intercom and control it so that from their phone they can buzz somebody in, right? They can just sit on the couch and hit a button and buzz someone in. or do any sorts of other cool things to, I don't know, like the thought that just popped in my head is like, could you like do a motion sensor or something? I don't know. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, you just play around. You find example. I mean, this is what all software devs do also is you go see a cool project someone else does. You go look at their code. You run their code. See what the output is. You make changes to it. Watch everything break because you made changes. Maybe you learned something. You copy and paste the bits of code that you want to keep. Throw away the things you don't. Oftentimes, I'll bet you could probably find 2 or 3 projects that are similar to what you want to do and just copy and paste the pieces that work and glue it together. And yeah, is there an edge case bug in there? Probably, but yeah, exactly. Run online and just open it anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Because you could be at the store and your friend shows up at your place and you want to let them in. To be able to do it via text message, just be like shoot a text message back to your house. Yeah, exactly. That sounds cool, man. This is what I love about Home Assistant. I want to spend more time on it, and I've just been very busy lately. And obviously, the project that I'm working on right now has been consuming all of my time. I need to update actually the thing because I've done playing Blueprints, and I'm not playing any video games right now because the video game I'm playing is the app that I'm building. This is my entertainment. I'm spending all my time here. Look at that. So 78 score is exactly the same. 2.6. Did we get it faster? 2.5. So no. I'm going to leave this though, because it's simpler, and it seems like we didn't need a pix. And the score is the same. Everything's the same. So, at a minimum, this is what I was hoping for, is delete code, because we didn't need the complexity. I mean, this is what it was doing was, because we had a grayscale image coming in as a matte, like before, I think what I was doing was converting it to a Godot image and sending that in. And that was fine, because with a Godot image, we could, save as PNG buffer, which worked. And it's like, oh, PNG is like a good solid format. But then the second I wanted to do something with matte, like it didn't work. And when I used an AI to code it, an AI was like, oh, like, well, that's because like you need to go do a bunch of ugliness to convert it. And just false. You did not need to do this at all. Tesseract has native support for matte image. I mean, not native support for matte images, but you can pass in its data. Easy. So I'll keep less code is good code. Less code is less code you need to maintain in the future. Sure that matte is continuous and has the right alignment. I'll keep this. I don't know if this is strictly necessary. Given the controlled environment I'm in, I'm guessing this is either always true or never true, one or the other. But I'll leave it for now. I'm happy, though, that this is like super simple now. Very simple code. So let's call that done. I'm not even going to make it its own pull request. I'll just call it done. Let's move on to dewarping. And for that, so that worked. Yeah, and while I'm here, since you brought it up, or since I brought it up after thinking about it, current game. Building my own. Sad face? I don't know. I'm not playing any games right now. Nah. I'll just say building my own. I am probably due to start playing another game, though. All right. Let me take a sip of coffee, and then we'll get into it. So where did we leave off with dewarping a while ago? Yeah, I already have this up here. I always keep the last one that has a good report up, so that way I can always reference back to my own test results to see how things are. Right, so this code. And I can't just open this PR because everything changed. Right, but some things did change here. Right, and I remember doing all of this. That was fun. But this was nice because it did simplify things. Right. To do, not used. All right, I think instead of just pulling this all over, like I will vanilla pull over Dewarper .h and .cpp. Where are we? What is all this? Correct skew. Yeah, this was like my own implementation of just correcting skew, not correcting warp. I'm not going to bring that over. Here, there's dewarper.cpp. All right. Git checkout -b dewarp revived. Let's just call it dewarp revived. And then over here, what is it? Dewarper.cpp. Dewarper.cpp. And then dewarper.h. Why are you being weird? Seriously? There we go. This is a massive file, isn't it? I think it is. But I need to spend more time cutting it. Okay. So that's the .cpp. And then the .h will of course be simpler. There's the .h. No errors. Okay. Thought about erroring for a second. Now it's happier. And then I do need to go to my... Here, we can close these file by file. So the .h we don't need anymore. Result JSON we don't need. None of these files matter. This file doesn't matter. That's all good. Right? Yes. Okay, and then this file I probably won't mess with too much. Let's go back to the top. Okay, S construct. I'm gonna have to make some changes there. And the main change there is gonna be sources. Right. I think I moved that in first. I think order matters because I end up having Dewarper included into the book scanner. And so it needs to exist first. What coffee do you drink? I drink black coffee. I make it myself with an AeroPress in the morning. Nothing too fancy. I mean, I guess I'm not like a I'm a low key coffee snob. I grind the beans and brew it in the morning, single cup with an AeroPress with like temperature controlled kettle and everything. But the kind of thing it takes me less than 2 minutes to do. But I like it. So yeah, typically I drink my coffee black. Don't really add anything to it. How about you? How do you like your coffee? I also drink it mid-morning. I want to use like the natural high that I wake up with and use that energy. And then usually around 10 o'clock is when I'll then go make my coffee. Usually right before I stream. So right before I stream, I do a little, 10-minute ritual, get myself mentally ready, and then bring the coffee in. Usually a darker roast. I've tried lighter roasts. I just don't I don't know. I don't think I know how to brew them properly. Oh yeah, this was one of those weird things where for this to work, I needed different library stuff from OpenCV because I guess there was some function in OpenCV that I called that I wasn't calling before, and so it didn't error before. But only on Windows. Like on the mobile device, it didn't matter. Like everything worked just fine. But on Windows, all of a sudden, like my imports got blown up. I don't do coffee home because I don't have the vapor thing. I like my coffee plain black, maybe some water. Sometimes I drink with sugar if I don't eat anything sweet. Yeah. Don't do coffee at home because I don't have the vapor thing. Curious what vapor thing you're talking about. The thing I love about the AeroPress is you just need a kettle to make hot water. You just need some way of making hot water. And then the AeroPress travels so easily. So you just need your coffee grounds, the AeroPress, and hot water. There's no big machine sitting on your countertop. There's no other complexity. It's easy to wash. It's light, travels well. Okay, so the OpenCV libs. In theory, that is the replacement right there. I think. And then we get rid of the for loop. So that gets nuked. And then we end up adding the OpenCV libraries in this batch way so that they all get added together, because otherwise we get weird dependency issues. And then I put this comment down here about flan s. I don't know. I don't think I need that. So what I will do, I'll take a brief moment and I'll do build all. So I'll build both Android and Windows, just in case if I get a build error, I want to know about it now. English is not my first language, so I don't know what it's called. But you put it on stove, and there is water at the bottom boiling, and steam comes up through. Oh, yeah. What is that called? My brother has one of those. I know it's a lot more common in other countries. Is that where like the steam comes up through the center and then ends up going over top onto the beans? Like you basically, it's a way of making coffee where you're boiling the water, but it's like boiled water doesn't hit the coffee. It's by the time the hot water hits the coffee, that water isn't boiled anymore. I forget what that is. Yeah, it all depends on the kind of equipment that you want to make for coffee. And that can either be a big appliance that you have to lug around, or it can be, even more complicated. All right, all those, that's fine. Oh. Bin Windows. Oh, I brought this in. I don't know if I needed it. Maybe I did. Do I have that? Bin, Windows, libf, FGE. No, I don't have it, but I can pull it in if I need it later. Run tests I cleaned up. Let me clean that up now. I'm on the east coast of the United States. Kind of like in the, like the Washington, D.C. area. In that region. How about you? Where are you from? Ukraine, okay. So that's pretty far. Must be quite a bit later in the day for you. So 18. Fine. I'll clean up these things that don't matter anymore. Echo. $17, yeah, so $5.50. Okay, so you're getting into the evening then. Yeah, fine, I'll add this code comment. Optionally build for we'll just bring over those changes just to have them. So that's brought over, and then so book text scanner .h. Safe to assume you're in the western part of Ukraine? Hopefully. I hope. Where's utils? Dewarper.h. And then document dewarper. Austria. Okay. Okay. Austria. Okay, so that's a bit more west. All right. See you in a bit. Document dewarper. All right, so that's brought in, and then here's dewarper. So what did I do here? Grid sample regions. I did a bunch of experiments here, filtering. I think all this actually got pulled in another pull request, so I don't need any of that. Rescaled a letter height. In fact, I may even have the commented out code. Crop with margins. And let me comment this out, because I should see what this image looks like before I crop it, because dewarping is going to better align things. And then this may actually, this is kind of like a hack thing I did. But actually, dewarping will make this less of a hack because, yeah, I'll be able to more reliably crop down. Yeah, here's that correct skew. Yeah, because I was experimenting with correcting skew. So let's just do our dewarp, which I'll do up here because I'll probably end up cropping again anyway. So we have our enhanced CV image. We dewarp. Cropped. I don't know how I missed the end there. Right. There we go. So this is rescaling by letter height. This is scaling it up. All right, cool. I'll build all again just to watch it go. This time I'll actually pay attention. Because if there is an error, it should, if Android errors, it should kill the entire run. I believe it does, but it might mask the error and then move on to Windows. No, didn't see any errors. Good. For months, I was having like errors all the time and just wading through nonsense of debugging C++. All right, and then we can do -S on the run test because we know we already got a build. I expect this to cause a problem. Actually, no. This might just work straight up. The quality may suffer because we skipped this cropping. Yeah, quality took a hit. But now I can go and investigate it individually and see, you know, what did this do that messed things up? Yes, 13 seconds. Ugh. Gross. Everything's gonna fail. 87.5 for the good one. And what about shaky? Shaky leg is always my winner. Okay, shaky leg lost its score. So we went from like 78 scoring to 70 and times tripled. Shaky, its time doubled. But okay, let's run just shaky and see what we see. Did I have that here? I had that here. Let's drop that. Well, I could have moved it over. Now I have to go find it again. Dev, reading room, testing, test results. All right, and then view, let's get big so we can see what's going on. So there's our images. So there's our frame averaging, and then let's go big on this. That's some enhancements. I wonder what that artifact is there. Now the interesting thing is a lot of the enhancements I might not need because dewarping might remove some of them too. So it dewarped, but I mean, I can see that aligned a bit better. Its binarization's terrible. But, you know, let me start by doing the cropping. So let's get the cropping good. Here, I'll leave this over here. Can I do that? Or is it... Maybe I'll leave it down here. And then I'll put that up there. Okay, good. Now I can click around everything. All right, let's bring this back. So we'll do the dewarped there, and then we'll go back to cropped here. And let's run that again. But we can't skip now because we have to rebuild. But now we can just rapidly test this out. So cropping off the black borders will hurt quality, so that's a given. It's just a known issue with Tesseract. So cropping those off will be good, and then the next step would probably be getting elbow deep into the dewarper logic and figuring out what it's doing where. It is doing its own binarization, which I think I should turn that off. I don't think I want it doing that, because Tesseract already does binarization, and it does it pretty well, actually, and it's pretty efficient. All right, I don't think we had a score change at all, although time took a lot longer. Let's see. Did we even crop anything? Weird. The way to do this properly would be to go back one. Bring that over here. And then we can go to our last test and see what we got. I don't see us cropping anything. Did I do that wrong? Oh, because... Darn. Okay, that's because we're doing it after. It's never going to change that image. Let's do this again. Fine, we'll bring up the rescaled image. Our last image before we send it off. And yeah, that definitely worked. So the top is good. I don't think I need to crop anymore there. The bottom and the right could both get some more cropping. So the bottom... let's go 30, and the right go 30. Here we go. Next test coming in. And is it done? Still working, still thinking. Here we go. All right, so the bottom, I could take like another 5 off of. And let me take another 5 off of both. How'd that do in quality? None, no movement. So bottom will go like 35 and right will go 35. Odd, I kind of, oh, yeah. I don't need this anymore. I just need to be able to see what I'm seeing. I'm a little surprised. I would have thought dewarping would have made it a little bit more square than it did. that's okay. All right, where is the next result? Here we go. Bottom is good. The right-hand side, I should really try to take off a bit more just to see if we can get rid of that black border. And there might be a bug with dewarping. I can go back to the original Python version. Probably not on stream right now because that's just too much of a pain. Because I don't really have a good Python setup on this machine. I have it on my laptop and I can't really stream that very easily. But maybe go back over there with this exact image, like bring over, like take over this enhanced image and run it through over there and see if it does the same thing. And if it doesn't, fix bugs. So that this feels a little skewed to me, like more skewed than it should be. But for now, okay, bottom's fine. The right, let's take off, let's go 45. Let's just go crazy. See what happens. I'm having trouble connecting to chat right now. It's weird. Okay, now I'm back in chat. Huh, now it's immediately having trouble connecting to chat again. Alright, well, scroll, I see you're back. If you post and I don't reply, it's because Twitch is, for whatever reason, having like connection issues. Alright, let's see. How do we do there? Scores are not improving, but that's fine. Well, I don't know. I kind of expected them to improve a little bit. All right, I don't think there's a way to crop more without, to get rid of that without losing characters. What are we at now with this, with running the full report? And then while that's happening, what I'll probably do is go into the dewarper. And where does it do binarization? Here we go. So I think I want to turn off at least this step. And return blurred. Ooh, why is that all caps? Blurred. All right, test results didn't improve much. If I run it now, though, where we don't do the binarization. Yeah, I also have the blurring, remapping. What does the remapping do? We already had a grayscale image. I wonder how many of these steps I actually need. All right, let's see. And while that's running, I'll get set up for doing a deeper investigation. All right, out of coffee, so switching to water. Seriously, Twitch, what's going on? Why can I not see chat? Never done this before. Don't know, should I brought up something not related to programming or no? Nah, you can bring up whatever you want, man. Okay, now Twitch seems to be happy again. And it's not doing the reconnecting thing anymore. Weird. Nah, we can chat about whatever you want. I mean, my channel's small enough that it doesn't really matter. We can chat about all things. So, whatever you're interested in, we can chat about. If I get to the point where I have tons of people in the channel, then, you know, maybe we have to like put guardrails on chat, but I don't really care. I'm just happy to have someone to talk to while I get this work done. Look at that. 75.9. So not quite 78, but I think that's largely this aligned frames. This one went down like 10 points. But actually, yeah, where is our expected result? Let's compare. So shaky is back up to 92 where it belongs, although its time is now shorter, or is longer rather. Good actually, whoa, went up 10. So that's good. And align frames got tanked. Okay, so 2 of our tests went up, 2 went down. Let's go run. Yeah, we can do a skip this time. Let's run shaky again and see what does it look like visually. Yeah, because Tesseract does much better binarization. Man, everybody makes mistakes. I always say, if you're understood, then it's English. Language is such a dynamic and ever-changing thing that, you know, it's hard for anybody to keep track of what is English, you know. So hey, if I can understand you, you're speaking English. So as far as I can tell, you're doing really well. If you hadn't mentioned it, I mean, I don't think I would have noticed at all. All right, so that is okay there. If I compare this to enhanced, you know, sometimes it's funny, like you don't really know what Tesseract's gonna like. So it is possible Tesseract would be happier with the blur, this Gaussian blur that got put on. But I get the feeling it's gonna be happier without it. So let me go back to more global changes. And what I'll do is, for the next test, is let me take out the blurring. And in fact, let me take out this remap. Well, no, let's go step by step. Okay, and then we'll do the whole thing. Yeah, we'll do the whole thing. Yeah, I know lots of native English speakers write and speak worse than me. Yeah. I mean, you know, and there's so many like regional dialects, and you know, even in like inside the United States, I've always joked that the United States is basically 9 different countries based on region, because each little pocket of the U.S. has its own way of speaking. You have different accents. There's different music, different food, different culture. It's such, you know, the world is such a interesting place. To say that like you are definitively speaking English or not, language by definition, like the way language works, it is ever changing. So words we use today, I mean, there are words we use today that didn't exist 100 years ago. And there are words that were commonly used in conversation 100 years ago that are no longer used. They're dead words. Or we still use them, but we use them differently, or we spell them differently, right? So the written version of that word changed. Language is living and breathing and ever changing. Yeah, I guess is my point. I bought dip bars and now do some dips from time to time. Dip bars is in like, is that like dip as in workout dip? Like you hold on with your hands and then you kind of work the arms by doing a body weight lift. Let's see here, 76. All right, we're getting close. We're in the ballpark of getting back to 78. So, hey, if we're in the realm of the same score as before, I'll take it. So that did improve things, though, by turning off that. Now, if we turn off remap, I wonder if image gray is what we want. I think when I added these, I think I was experimenting with taking this output and improving it. And I was doing it here when I really probably should have been doing it over here. So 76.5. Let's see if we can get even better. Yeah, workout dips. Yeah. Yeah, I do dips sometimes on like a bench I have. So I'm just kind of like arms on the edge of the bench and then do a dip that way. Although I'm currently dealing with an arm injury from rock climbing, because no, I don't do any outdoor rock climbing. I do like indoor rock climbing, but yeah, my one arm been bothering me for a while, so I'm taking a break from arm workouts. And currently doing some things to help it heal. What was that? 76.5 was our score. What are we trying to get to? Yeah, 76.5. Yeah, rock climbing is fun. For me, it's like a puzzle. I like to sit back and look at the wall and look at the route and try to wrap my mind around the path that I should be taking to most efficiently get up the wall. So it's almost like, yeah, it's like solving a little bit of a puzzle. I'm surprised we haven't seen like more video games that do rock climbing. There are one or two, but I definitely think there is like a puzzle aspect to it of how do you pick the right route to go up. And then the moves you do, you might pick a good route, but then it's also the moves with the route. So, you know, combination of things. Climbing gym in my life, but it was absolutely my thing. Yeah, I mostly do bouldering. I don't have friends to climb with anymore. All of my climbing buddies either no longer climb or aren't in the area anymore. So I just boulder. But it's been over a year since I've climbed again because of that arm injury, which I'm slowly now finally doing something about, fixing that arm. All right, we actually lost quality there. So I'm going to go ahead and say remap was needed. I don't know what remap is doing, but I'll have to take a look into that. And I think I'm going to have to go deep on this logic and understand what it's doing to make improvements from here, quality improvements. That's disappointing. So I'm not going to merge code like this unless it actually improves things. So, yeah, that's annoying. And you get banned. There you go. Strong shoulders, but weak grip. So it's interesting to play from my weaknesses and strong side. Yeah, I find like my legs are the best. So, you know, with climbing, to climb efficiently, you try to like minimize using arms and just use arms for stability. So I try to lean into that, but it's also been good for building up my upper body strength as well. All right, so we're back to 76.5. Let's do a skip, and then we'll just run shaky. Shack. So how does this look, this output? So I guess I'll compare enhanced to rescaled, because rescaled will have the dewarp. Enhanced doesn't. Okay, so I'm noticing a few things here. I'm noticing some blurring and some like weird compression of letters and things, like some weird warping of letters. If we go in real far, how flat is that? Actually, sure, I'll go to here. So the word gain here is flat, and if I scroll across, yeah, it still warps a little bit, but it's not bad. Whereas, like, yeah, So it did its job a bit. Oh, aren't I doing some rotation as well? Oh, it looks like we got some left over here as well. New keyboard. Silent switches. Cheap and loud. Yeah, I'm a fan of brown switches, so they make a little bit of a noise and they give you some of that feedback, but they're not as clicky as like blue switches. Okay, so I think I see some issues. All right, let me go take a look at the code and see if we can see. Not what I wanted. Go over there. All right, let's go back to this code. So that's dewarping. Enhanced text. What is this doing? So this is doing, what are we doing? We got an array of frames. We get the order of the frames. Then we do frame alignment. Once we get a single one that aligns well, we kick out early. We then do the averaging. And this is where we're doing a little bit of contrast and sharpening. I should break that out as its own step. Right. This is where we grayscale it. And then we do some sharpening. Interesting. I may pull this out, return a colored image, and then if I pass a colored image, so right now this is grayscale, and I'm passing that into the warper. If I pass it a color image, I wonder what that's going to do. It should still work, but we'll still get out a grayscale image. So if nothing else, we'll drop a step there. Okay, let me look at that. And then gray switches. It's been a while since I've looked at switches. And I know some switches are like brand specific. So I don't know about gray switches. But yeah, I mean, my keyboard is starting to get a little bit old, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get a new one soon and go down the path of trying to pick new types of switches. But I've been on browns for a while and I've been pretty happy with them. Okay, what am I trying? Oh, yeah, I wanted to quickly do an audit of this code to see what else I'm doing. Here we go. So, crop and warp rotated rec. I don't think I want to do this anymore. So what do we get? We got our min area rect. That seems inefficient that we're doing it this way. Because we're doing it for all the frames. . padding, rotation matrix. So we do a rotation. And then we crop. What if I just don't do any of this? I cut that out. And then the issue will be our min rect. No, that's the rotation matrix. Image. Oh. So I probably need to do cropping. Gotcha. We're probably just going to crop there. I think this was this cropping for alignment purposes? Or rotating for alignment purposes? Yeah, Maybe not touch this. Let's not mess with that. One thing I may do at some point is do the dewarping, but really return whatever the math is needed to do the warp function. Dewarp the template frame, and then for each frame, apply that same dewarp. And then try to align and merge them. But that's a lot of rewrite and a lot of work. So I'm not going to do that just now. Interesting that you found me on YouTube. Not always the person is bad at doing videos, maybe just YouTube. YouTube algorithm is its own thing as I understand it. If you start creating content like I have, it apparently will slowly start to, theoretically, it sounds like what it does is it'll randomly kind of recommend you to one person here, one person there, and see what is working or not working. And over time, as long as your channel is consistent with what you're creating, over time, it'll try to figure out who your audience is and recommend you to the right people. And so it'll take a little while. And that's where, for a lot of channels, they'll just kind of sit in obscurity for a while. And then eventually their channel will start to really grow followers because the algorithm will have figured out who to send them to. Which is why it's actually not a good idea to send your channel to friends, because friends will like your channel and they'll subscribe and they'll do all that kind of stuff. But if your friend is not the target audience, it's just going to confuse the algorithm into thinking that that is the target audience. And then it'll take longer for the algorithm to figure out not to target that type of person. That person was kind of a fluke because they're just your friend. Okay, what am I doing then? I am... Let me think here. Enhance text from frames. Yeah, let's go at least fix that up. At least I know. Yeah, I don't want to touch anything above this because this is where the alignment happens, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of messing with that code. Yeah, not. I mean, there's some stuff up here I want to mess with, but I don't want to mess with anything in the middle. I want to mess with stuff early, and I want to mess with steps that happen later. I don't want to mess with anything else. Yeah, you watch a lot of scientific stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you're not the only person lately who's kind of said like, hey, I don't know how I got recommended your channel, but now I'm paying attention to you. So I think I'm slowly, baby steps, getting an audience. Although for me, I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I'm trying to just build in public as a way of building my confidence, and also not to, build in the dark by myself alone, without getting feedback or without getting insight from people like you. So I'm not really. I mean, if my channel becomes popular, great. But I'm not really trying to do it for that reason. If that makes sense. So this is enhanced text from frames. I'm gonna rename this, and I am going to call this merge frames. Merge frames. And then over here, merge frames. Now the step does what it is going to do, what it actually says it does. Gotcha. So here we are. We're going to return averaged. So all we're doing is doing the alignment, figuring out the alignment for the frames, aligning one of them, picking those, right, and then doing the actual averaging so we get one crisp, clean frame, which, for those who maybe don't understand what I'm talking about, so we're starting off with 3 frames. The middle one is our template. That's our template frame. So this, even though I spit it out here, this image is literally that image. And then what I'm doing is I'm doing a quick bit of math to say, hey, which of these frames is likely to be most similar to this one? Let's start with that one. And, we do some other steps to detect text and figure out where text is in the scene and do a mask and everything. But what we do is we take our template for our alignment. So again, we've taken this frame. Actually, it's this exact image, but we've cropped down to where the text is. And then we take the frame of these 2 frames, whichever one we think is most similar. We try to align it. So we adjust its alignment to be similar to this, and then we average the 2. And so if I actually just bring this up, I'm going to bring this up. And I go up to there, let's say 214. Did I do? Let's do 214. There we go. And you'll see that, like, the letters are a lot crisper. That the quality here is better. Actually, if we look at the word base here, you can see there's like a little artifact inside the B. Whereas here, that artifact is still kind of there, but it's been minimized. And we also get some denoising for free, because there will be junk data in one image that's not in the other. And so by then merging those 2 frames, we actually eliminate some of that noise. And so this is one of those kind of critical steps you have to do if you're going to OCR from a video feed. So when you grab still images from a video feed, it's not going to be clean. There's going to be some blur. There's going to be some noise. It's like you don't get a nice, beautiful, clean image like if you took one with a camera. And so in order to get a good enough image that we can OCR, we have to do that merging. And that's what this code's doing. I like people that don't pursue fame, but rather people who do something they like. Yeah, I'm just trying to be authentic to myself, right? And if that is worthy of some level of fame, amazing. But I'm not gonna like sit here and try to sell myself. If I'm my authentic self, I think I'm more likely to succeed anyway. If I just am my authentic self. Yeah, I don't know why this would ever be true. I could just delete this code, but here, let me put this here. Oh, actually this, should kind of go back here, right? That's a debug image. And then over here, we can then do that step. And we're not going to return enhanced. Now it's just its own step. We've broken it out. We'll just call this one merged. If not merged, and then merged goes into here. So we get enhanced, and then enhanced goes into there. And then why is enhance, contrast, and sharpen giving an error? You're not public, I'm guessing. Oh, you're not even... Oh. Okay, well, you're just... You're kind of a problem, aren't you? Let's make you a class method. And for that, we'll have to put you somewhere. I gotta like delete a bunch of old junk code from here. Fine, let's just put you here. I gotta do some housekeeping at some point anyway. So we put that there. Let's save that. You should stop erroring. There you go. And you should be happy now too. Come on, there we go. And now if I run this again, it should be as if nothing happened. So it should just as a sanity check, just in case I broke something. I don't expect any difference, but that's what should happen. It should just work. And then the question will be, what happens if I change the order? So if I move this to after dewarping, and then we'll do the contrast and sharpening. Because contrast and sharpening... Well, what? We grayscale it, which we shouldn't need to do, because it should already be grayscaled. And then we do a Clay. I forget what this does. But anyway, sharpens, contrast type thing. Improves the image. Does the thing. So either I could rip this step out and see what it does, or I could move this to after dewarp. I'd be curious what happens there. Do you know an app called Cursor? Yeah, I'm familiar with Cursor. And a lot of the other like coding tools. On here I'm not using it, and I've thought about it. On my other machine, I do have an AI installed that does like autocomplete. So if I start typing, it'll recommend the rest of the line of code for me. So I do have some AI autocomplete that I use for that. I do use AI in terms of like dropping, either with Claude or ChatGPT, dropping it a block of code and asking it to do a specific task for me. Usually to save myself time, either because, you know, the kind of thing where I could figure it out on my own, but it would take me a little while, or I'm just too lazy to go dig through the API docs for a given library. I can just ask the AI, hey, like, how do I call this thing? And it'll do it for me. I haven't really been using Cursor or anything like that. I'm trying not to get myself married at the hip to AI coding. I just use it where I think it helps speed me up, and if it's not helping speed me up, then I don't use it. And I've already gotten burned already where I've asked AI coding assistants to like, hey, code up this whole big massive thing for me, and it'll do it. And sometimes that code will even run, but there will be a bunch of hard to find mistakes in that code, and then I end up spending 4 hours debugging code that I didn't write, and that's not fun. So I find doing it in small bites has been more effective for me. All right, as expected, 76.5, we're in the same spot. What happens if I just don't do this now? I would expect my score to go down. 76.5. Do we go up or down with this? The dewarp logic may perform slightly better. I think it was 76.5 in 10 seconds. This is how long it took. $76.5 in 10 seconds. Come on. Ooh, woof. This is taking a while. Come on. Here, let me just write down my comment here. So 76.5 at 10 seconds. That's how long it was taking. I think it's worse, but let's see. Yeah, now we've lost, and we even lost time too. So the contrast and sharpening may have made later steps easier. Yeah, I was doing something with website for my ESP32, and at some point it just ruined all of my code. The hardest is to write an Android program from scratch and zero knowledge. If you take it step by step, like baby steps, just have it solve one specific individual problem for you at a time. It's great. The funny thing that I've been seeing is, you know, again, there's been a bit of the hype of like, we're going to get rid of all software engineers and nobody needs a software engineer anymore. We're just going to have PMs, project managers, vibe coding, everything. And then things don't go to plan, things don't go well. And then they're like, oh, well, you need version control and you need a dev environment and you need a test harness and you need proper logging and like the AI can do everything, but you also need these other things too. And it's like all those other things that you're tacking on is what like software devs do. It's like it is that discipline that gets you across the finish line. You can do it, but it's just, I think in many ways AI is going to make it easier to learn how to code, because you can, if you ask it very specific targeted questions, it'll answer them for you pretty well. And so for you mentioned like Android program. Okay, well, if you just like step by step have it solve individual problems that you're running into, you'll get there. You'll get the thing working, and then along the way you'll actually have learned a bit. Because as the AI solved each problem for you, it's almost like having a mentor who's doing it step by step. As long as you do it as very targeted small steps, baby steps, it'll do it for you and you'll learn something as you do it. And then one day you'll wake up and, I don't know, for me, like when I started my career, I didn't feel like an engineer. And then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and I'm in a meeting and I said something smart that a bunch of senior engineers all agreed with. And it was in that moment that I was like, oh, I guess all of a sudden I'm an engineer. Like I finally feel like one. So it's one of those things, like I don't think of engineers as those who have a certain degree or education background or even are doing it in the field. It's that inquisitive self-discovery, problem solving. Hey, I'm trying to do something with an ESP32 and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. And everything's broken and that sucks, but I'll just roll up my sleeves and figure out why it's broken. And that's what makes you an engineer, not whether or not you have like the technical background or you know a certain things you were taught it. You have lots of files when doing an Android program. I mean, I think that's true of a lot of coding. You have lots of files, but most of the time you don't need to touch most of those files. Like there's mostly hidden from you and boilerplate kind of stuff that you don't need to worry about. Use ChatGPT to prepare for entrance exam. Yeah. I mean, like, knowledge acquisition is so much easier now with AI tools. If you're using it for the purpose of making yourself smarter, it's like the difference between, you know, when I was a little kid and you had to go to the library. Like you literally had to like go to the library and hunt through books just to figure out the right word that you didn't know what the word was that for the thing you're trying to find. And then once you figured out the word, then you went and found more books to go figure out what it is you needed to learn. And then the internet came along, and all of a sudden in 5 minutes, instead of having to go walk or drive to the library, you could figure out something in 5 minutes on the internet just by searching and slowly educate yourself. Now, like, AI is even supercharged even further. So yeah, absolutely using AI tools to prepare you for an entrance exam makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, you want to study AI? Yeah. Yeah, I've done a little bit of study of AI. I did neural networks in grad school and went kind of deep on AI stuff like a little over a year ago just to understand what an LLM is and what is it actually doing. At the end of the day, it is kind of glorified autocomplete, but it is connecting the dots of human intelligence in a way. So it's kind of like if you were to spend a few hours digging through Google searching for a certain topic, and after hours of searching you came together and had like a dozen different articles and blog posts and URLs from around the internet that you had pulled together and then now all of a sudden your brain has a mental model around that concept you were researching. AI kind of just gives you that. It like hands that initial research step to you. But at the end of the day, it is autocomplete, but it's autocomplete with lines drawn between disparate content on the internet, if that makes sense. So it isn't just glorified autocomplete, but it's like glorified autocomplete with those dotted lines being drawn. You still need the book that the teacher recommends to you. Yeah. I mean, it's like using a calculator. I mean, when you get advanced enough in school, you will have classes where the teacher says, it's an open book exam, and you can use a calculator, and you can have as many cheat sheets as you want. And, cheat. Like, have everything in front of you. Because as long as you know how to use the material to get the right answer, you're not going to be able to figure out the right answer by cheating, right? Like, you'll have to know the material in order to find the right answer within that mountain of material that you have in front of you. Now, obviously, AI kind of changes that a little bit because in theory, AI in some cases can actually just produce the right answer for you. But I had teachers who were like, yeah, you could just bring whatever material to the test that you want. All right, so that, let's do here. Let's bring that in, the dewarped. Let's change the order of operations. So if we dewarp first, and then do that, do we get above 76 again, or are we stuck in the doldrums? And with this, I'll probably go deep on one of the test scenarios again to see what it's doing. Doesn't like something. Invalid number of channels. Okay, I know what that is. So the problem there is we already have a grayscale image. So we're trying to convert to grayscale for an image that is already input BGR. Blue, green, red. What? No, just let's not call it that. Just do image. And I don't think I need to do this to the .h, but I'll do it anyway for consistency. So let's get rid of that. I'll leave the image there, just as fine. Okay, because we've already done this conversion. So that's what that error means. Invalid number of channels, because an image channel, like RGB, well, RGBA potentially if it's a PNG, if it has like the alpha, which is the transparency. But this image, just like the error we saw earlier on this stream, this image being a grayscale image only has one channel. And so this conversion, you'd think OpenCV would be smart enough to either just like make this a warning and not an error. But instead it just errors and says, oh, I can't convert grayscale to grayscale. Oh, I guess it's BGR. Blue, green, red. That's how they do it? Okay. Alright, that should be fixed now. Let me close that. I don't need that anymore. So you want to study also to meet people. I mean, a lot of times that's what the benefit of university is. I've always joked that, you know, a school like Harvard, it's like, well, is it a better school than another school? I don't know. But if a school like Harvard only accepts rich students who are smart, and you go in and you're rich and smart, you're going to come out probably still rich and probably still smart, but now well connected with other people who are just like you. And then you see all those stories of, you know, somebody gets a job because their friend's uncle got them an intro. So oftentimes, like, it is those human connections that you're going to make at university that can, in some cases, form the foundation of your career. So there's more to school than just the classroom learning, at least at the university level. But that's always, you know, it's always true too. It's like your social group. Who do you interact with? If you interact with, like, if you spend your social time with friends who are going to get you into trouble, then, you know, you're going to go down a bad path. If you hang out with friends who have aspirations in life and are trying to achieve things, well, then you will also are more likely to achieve things because, you know, to some extent you are your social group. At least you can be. All right, 70. So interestingly, it looks like doing this step first does matter. But let's go take a look at shaky again. Or maybe let's look at good. Good has a worse score. And that may make it easier for us to see some sort of issue. Do you own the game OSU? OSU. Do you know the game? I don't know if I know that game. Yeah, see, it's still doing this like stretching warping thing, which is a little weird. And then this one's getting compressed. So something's going on with the dewarp here. I'll have to investigate. Did I just close? I did, didn't I? Hold on. Okay. Cropping's good, although we could crop off more from the top for this. And I think we cropped a little bit too much off the right-hand side. Okay, well, I don't think I want to fight that battle too much. Which is disappointing. But hopefully this gets me back to 76. I think then I'm going to have to go dig into the Dewarper then and figure out what's going on in there. I think that's what I've narrowed it down to. Which means... yeah, this is channel correction. So based on the channel we get. So what are we converting it to? Yeah, we converting. I don't like that. Why do we need to convert back to RGB? So interesting. Oh, now we're having problems again. Hold on. This, because this has to be grayscale, right? I think that's it. I think the issue is the Clay denoising or sharpening or whatever that is. What is this? What is it called? Wait. Fast N1 means denoising. So it's Clay denoising. Okay. Which is interesting. Alright, I think this needs grayscale. I don't think it likes... So I think this has to be gray. Alright. For me, I think it's getting close to about lunchtime, so I think I may stop soon. At a minimum, I think I've barely met my expectations of being at least comparable to the scores we were getting before. So 76.5 instead of 78. Like, I'm not going to merge it without improving it, but at least we're in the same ballpark. And then 10 seconds is bad, but again, I think I can go, if I go investigate and look at what this is doing under the hood, I can find either bugs to fix, which will improve the scoring, hopefully quite a bit, and also drop down this time. And then I can figure out, hey, maybe I can, again, ideally do this later and not do the conversion. Or like, there's probably a step within the dewarp. Yeah, anyway, find the right moment to do these steps. So figure out some step ordering that's going to fix things. What are we at? Yeah, 76.5 in 10 seconds. Shaky got worse. What are our scores at? So what's interesting is, okay, Shaky got worse a little bit. Enough that I can live with it. But good got real good. In fact, good is now better than shaky, which is how it was kind of supposed to be. Shaky was never really supposed to be the best scorer. I mean, it's called shaky leg for a reason. My body was vibrating while I was doing the scan, and so I was expecting image alignment issues or something. And then the other two, align frames got a bit worse. So again, there's something to improve there. And then this one got pretty bad. Let me do one thing real quick. Let's do skip -k crop. Let's go look at that bad test scenario. I want to see how long is it taking and where. Like, where are the slow bits? And then I want to maybe see visually. I mean, I think I know. It's already pretty bad of a test since we can't do it. This one's one where we can't align the frames. So even though we have 3 frames here, you can see they're very different. So alignment fails, so we end up with just the template frame being the one we go with. And so as a result, you know, this is what we send to Tesseract, which is trash. So yeah, its score got worse. Again, this is grayscale. You know, I should be able to have Tesseract spit out its binarized image so I can see what Tesseract sees. Let me see about adding that real quick. But what's taking so long? So yeah, frame alignment fails. We reject alignment. Averaged, enhanced, dewarped, deskewed. So that took no time. That took a half second. Interesting. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Here's starting OCR. 51.9, 52.3, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. Oh, here we go. Oh, I can't do math. That did not take a half second. That took, yeah, as expected. So dewarping took like 10 seconds on its own. Really? Yeah, it took like 8 seconds. Like 10 seconds. Yeah. So all the time was right there in dewarp. This took forever, which was expected. Okay, so this is a black hole. I don't know what's slow in there. I have to go dig deeper, which means I'm gonna have to add debug statements in there. And then also, so what are we doing here? We do save debug image. How is it scoring? So I'm doing a, where is this? It's in this file, right? compute text similarity. And so I'm taking 2 blocks of text. One is the expected output, where I actually like hand typed out the entire page of text. And it's the same page that we're doing over and over again. So you can see it's a book that I happen to have called Crossing the Chasm. And it's a specific page that I'm OCRing every time. So fixed page. So we know what the output is. So we have these 2 blocks of text. And let's see here. We're computing... What's the type of similarity again? Yeah, we like trim white space, and we do a bunch of things such as like, and then like lowercase all the characters, Levenstein distance, which is a math formula for doing that. So yeah, just computing a mathematical distance between the 2 blocks of text. And this is code that I largely borrowed, so it's not like, didn't spend too much time trying to figure this out. So it's just computing a mathematical distance between the 2 blocks of text. Let's see here. So I could do... So for Tesseract in C++, how do I get the debug image that shows how it did binarization? Below is my current code, ignoring setup, etc. Fine, I'll just give it this method. I assume it's just a simple function call. Threshold debug image, get threshold image function. Let's see, pix to, why are you doing this? No, leave it alone. I don't know why it always insists on writing more code than I ask it to. So you need to do a full recognition pass first. Good. Fixes for your code. Import format. A single channel 8-bit image for binarization. Convert to grayscale first. No, I don't need to do that. Leave me alone. Run recognition. Only becomes available after recognize has been called. Then convert that to a mat. Oh, gross. Yeah, I didn't need you to do any of that. Yeah, I didn't ask you to do any channel changes. Okay, so set image. We do recognize. But we are already doing that here. All right, fine. So this, in theory, do I even want to do this right now? This seems rather annoying. But I'd also only want to do this if we're in debug mode. So that is something that... Save debug image. Oh, there we go. So is debug files enabled? We do that check. So this is going to give us a pix image. And then it's saying we have to do pix to mat. Which also, again, why do I need to do all this? Because I'll bet you anything, the image we get from Tesseract is going to be not RGBA. It's going to be this. It would always be this. Binary image. By definition, that's what we're getting from Tesseract. So why would this ever be true? These other ones. All right, let me take a step back, go grab some lunch, finish the stream here. After I've cleared my head, I may go implement this, or I may decide it's too much trouble. Either way, I probably will implement it because I do want to see like what the binarized image is coming out of Tesseract. I already know it's going to be the best high quality, but I may see something in there. So either I'll see that some of this error gets cleaned up a little bit. I don't expect it to, but maybe it does. Or I'll at least more clearly see what the issues are for the image changes. And then I'll go get elbow deep in the dewarper logic. Yeah, resize the screen seems stupid. Probably can skip that. Yeah, there's a bunch of steps here that I know that it's doing that I can get rid of. But yeah, this is where I'll probably start going deep on this. And while I'm at it, I'll probably go grab images and put them on my laptop so I can test the Python version of this logic and see if it does any better, to see if maybe there was a bug introduced in the conversion over to C++, which would be amazing if true. Because again, I know I have a happy path version of this logic working really well in Python. So it's possible the conversion to C++ broke something. But yeah, anyway, I'll probably do that, and then I'll likely stream Wednesday morning. Thanks for hanging out, especially you, Scroll. Good chatting with you, and I'll talk to you later.